Let's talk a bit about Emery. You get the feeling that with their next match against Wolves, Arsenal is at a crossroads of sorts at the moment, in more way than one. The common thread being that, in this case, Emery is at the center of it all, as expected of the manager of the club, but also due to his mismanagement. He's to blame for the Xhaka incident, Ozil's banishment, and the overall frustration from the fans at the moment.
It's time to go!
Let's start with the Ozil situation. I of course have a video on last season's events and clashes between Ozil and Emery, and for the most part, it seems like there's a bit of history repeating itself for this season. However, there is one aspect that Emery can't be blamed for, Ozil being the victim of an attempted armed robbery with his teammate Sead Kolasinac. By now, we've all seen what happened. Two men pull up on a moped, one with a massive knife, and Sead Kolasinac chases them away. From there, the men behind this and their gang then made Ozil and his wife the target, threatening to burgle them again and worse. A large security detail stayed at Ozil's house 24/7 to protect them, and Ozil and Kolasinac were dropped from the Arsenal squad for a time due to safety concerns while traveling with the team. Now, Kolasinac came back into the fold earlier than Ozil, given that the German was the primary target of the criminals. There's no blame to be put on Emery for this situation. But even when it seemed that Ozil would return to the team, he still couldn't make the squad. Sure, there was another case of a classic Ozil illness that Emery said wouldn't allow him to train, thus leaving him sidelined. But then, with Ozil regularly in training and early in October reaffirming that he is going nowhere, Ozil didn't even make the matchday squad for 6 consecutive Arsenal matches. Yes, Emery was shackled by Ozil's security concerns, resulting from the attempted robbery and the events that followed, but for 6 matches in which he was available, Emery didn't pick him, even for the bench. His last appearance before the 5-5 League Cup loss against Liverpool was once again in the League Cup, starting against Nottingham Forest in a 5-0 win. He was getting the matches that youth players usually get. And prior to that, he has only featured in 1 Premier League match, a 2-2 result against Watford. In total, so far this season, Ozil has played for 207 minutes in just 3 appearances. He spent way more time streaming Fortnite on Twitch.
Yeah! Easy!
And without Ozil, Arsenal's season has been middling, and once again, they've been lacking a creative spark in the number 10 position. Dani Ceballos is undoubtedly a gifted young player. He was the player of the tournament at the UEFA U21 European Championships, and he had a great start at Arsenal on loan from Real Madrid. His form has cooled a little bit, however, and Emery has instead even played Lucas Torreira in the number 10 position at times, preferring to play him out of position over even including Ozil in the squad. Against Liverpool, Ozil showed that he needs to be playing. He put the onus on Emery even more so than before. Is your crusade against me worth your job? Is that a hill worth dying on? Is it worth leaving a player of his quality out of the squad more than trying to make it work with someone who is undoubtedly an asset to most teams when he's in form under a manager that knows how to get the most out of him? Therein could lay the problem though, as Emery has struggled in the past with players of Ozil's caliber, with reports coming out of PSG that he was second fiddle to the big personalities there. It almost smells like Emery is, or at least was, more worried about having unquestionable authority at the expense of burning bridges with some of the club's greatest assets, using almost tyrannical measures in order to do so, and putting more importance on the players who graft and will jump through brick walls for him, even if the result on the pitch is worse off. Now, it isn't unreasonable for a manager to expect this of his players, but I do think that there is a balance that all good managers will have to find, and the realization that different players require a different managing style. Ozil and Xhaka, for example, are 2 different cases. Ozil may not kill himself on the training pitch, but can provide moments of magic and some creativity that Arsenal can lack in their attack. While Xhaka, he seems like a lot of hard work and less impact on the pitch, and that's who Emery has chosen to side with. Not only that, Xhaka is his captain. Again, I have a video exploring the idea of Xhaka as Arsenal's captain. You can check that out if you want. But the summation for me is basically this. When you have a player like Xhaka as your captain, someone who seems to cost his team quite regularly with his rash tackles that lead to either red cards or conceding penalties, if the captain is supposed to be the standard of the squad, then how can you go with someone who is so prone to mistakes such as this? Someone who costs his team so regularly? Now, Xhaka in his famous or infamous match against Crystal Palace recently has perhaps shown that he is unfit to captain the side. Was it poor of some of the Arsenal fans to boo him and ironically cheer when he was subbed off against Crystal Palace? Certainly. But it was equally or perhaps even more wrong of Xhaka in his response. Yes, footballers are humans and they can't always help how they are going to react to the jeers of the fans, especially their own fans. But as the captain, you have to hold yourself to an even higher standard. Cupping your ear to egg them on even more? Wrong move. Telling them to f*** off? Another wrong move. Taking the kid off and storming down the tunnel? Another wrong move. I can sympathize with Xhaka as abuse from your own must hurt, but he has been unwavering in the fallout regarding this, refusing to apologize to the fans. He said in his explanation, he didn't title it as an apology, but an explanation, quote, "In this situation, I let myself get carried away and reacted in a way that disrespected the group of fans that support our club, our team, and myself with positive energy. That has not been my intention, and I'm sorry if that's what people thought." The classic, sorry if that offended you in place of sorry for offending you. What's even more damning is the fact that this is Arsenal's captain, and you could even argue that Xhaka has been the face of Emery's Arsenal in just over a season in control of the club. This in itself is problematic. Now Emery is faced with yet another problem of his own making. Does he allow Xhaka to continue as the captain of the club after this event? Sources close to the club say that Xhaka has no intention to outright apologize. So if he strips him of the captaincy, then will Emery lose one of his most loyal subjects within the squad? Most likely yes. But if he remains as the captain, then Emery will be seen as weak once again. Already you have reports emerging of the younger players doing impressions of Emery and mocking him. You know, the classic good evening, that is all over the internet. And as soon as he loses the respect of the dressing room, you know, that lack of respect from the younger guys permeating into the more senior players, then it's a slippery slope to losing complete control of the dressing room as well. But beyond him keeping him as his captain, if Emery continues to play Xhaka and Guendouzi together, a partnership that isn't really working out so well, and as I alluded to earlier, has even in some cases played Torreira further up the pitch in order to fit Xhaka into the squad, that will be a mistake. So, Saturday's match against Wolves, a team that Emery hasn't beaten in the Premier League, and a team that has an incredible record against the top 6 Premier League sides, I mean, whatever top 6 sides means anymore. The definition of that has been skewed recently, but what would typically be just another Premier League match holds much more weight now. Does Xhaka feature? And if he does he play as the captain? Does Ozil feature? And if he does, what does the rest of the midfield look like? Many have been wanting to see a midfield three of Ozil, Guendouzi, and Torreira, with Pepe on the right, Aubameyang on the left, and Lacazette as the striker ahead of them. Going further, will Emery finally give the fans what they want and start Tierney and Bellerin in the fullback positions within the same match? This match against Wolves gives Emery an opportunity to perhaps turn a page, to move on from the weak management he has exhibited in the past, and to move forward and have a good evening. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. But that's all from me. Thanks for watching, guys. Just a quick sort of stream of consciousness kind of video today to get some thoughts out ahead of this match, because I truly think that this could either be a turning point for Emery or just more of the same as he becomes the master of his own demise. If you enjoyed this video, then hit like. If not, then dislike is the option for you. I'm Adrian. Thanks for watching and take care.